tackling evolving procurement priorities. Well, joining us today to speak about that, Ryan Polk, Director Analyst, Procurement Advisory at Gartner. Ryan, it's good to see you. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you, Russ.
You know, Ryan, I guess it's fair to say that there are any number of things that procurement leaders could be focused on, could be looking at, could be paying attention to. I guess the question to you is, what are those things that they really should be focused on? So what do you say?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's so many things that procurement leaders could be focused on. When you look at stakeholder pressure today and you unpack it, you'll see that we're being pushed as procurement leaders to really extend beyond cost, quality, and speed, our traditional value propositions. We're being asked to look at things like managing risk more effectively, tackling cybersecurity, innovation, sustainability, diversity, equity, and inclusion. The thing that procurement leaders need to think about is, as we expand the aperture with which we view our own value, how do we simultaneously narrow our focus on the right things, right? And so the answer to the question really needs to be, what is material to our success? And that's going to be a function of, what do our individual stakeholders, meaning our employees, our consumers, our customers, our suppliers, care about? And how do those things impact our organization, our business? We want to focus on those. Now, what's interesting about it is that regardless of what bubbles up to the top on kind of your material concern list, it's likely that two things are going to become more important for the procurement leader now and into the future. And that's category management and supplier management.
Two areas that I know you focus on, that you are covering. And so I guess the question then is, how should those areas, or how do you see those areas evolving? What's going on there? Please.
Yeah, they certainly are evolving. Let's talk about category management first. When you look at what leading organizations are doing, you'll see that category management is not really just strategic sourcing 2.0, which is a common misconception. Category management's becoming an operating model in and of itself. It's almost the operating model of the future for leading procurement organizations. And what I mean by that is that you'll see decisions being made that used to be made maybe at the indirect or the direct level, increasingly being made at the category of spend level. In a world of myriad stakeholder concerns, we need a framework that allows us to make decisions at lower levels. And then when you think about supplier management, it's simply just the most effective way to deliver on emerging stakeholder concerns and priorities, deliver value on these new priorities. You think about things like sustainability, diversity, equity, and inclusion, cyber risk, managing supply chain disruptions. All of these things are more effectively achieved through post-contract award supplier management than they are, say, through pre-award sourcing.
What you're talking about would seem to me to be vertical agnostic. Would that be true? Is that fair to say?
Absolutely. I think there's certainly different manifestations of it, but in terms of kind of the math behind it, if you will, absolutely. We see this pan industry kind of in all regions around the world.
Let's talk about the biggest challenges that you see procurement leaders facing today, and I suppose it might be fair to say that could vary to some extent, depending upon the area that they are involved in, the industry they're involved in. But nevertheless, biggest challenges generally that you see.
Yeah, so there's a few things. Number one of the things that I see is, we're at a moment where we're truly transforming in procurement. And as we do that, we're being asked to become more strategic and do more strategic things. In order to be effective in this paradigm, we need the mind space and the head space to actually do it. And right now, a lot of the companies that I work with are cognitively overloaded, right? We're saturated mentally. We don't have the cognitive bandwidth to actually allocate towards these new transformational activities like category management, supplier management. So challenge number one is, we need to find a way to offload this cognitive overload, right? Now, challenge number two that I see would be with respect to technology, right? It's no surprise that we're all investing in more technology today, right? You look at tech investments, and it's been increasing for years on end. But we're approaching a point, at least in procurement, where we're seeing a divide happen, a gap occur, whereby we have a decent level of tech maturity. We're investing in the bells and whistles, but we're not able to govern it. You know what it feels like to me? It feels like the person that buys the latest and greatest golf clubs every single year, but never works on their swing. We have the bells and whistles, we have the best technology, but do we know how to use it? That's a different story. So challenge number two, in my opinion, would be around data literacy and digital dexterity. actually maximizing our investment on the technologies that we have. Right.
Are you having any difficulty at all in persuading the C-suite that what you do is vital to the company? I'm just curious about that.
Yeah, I would say that over the last 2 years, we've seen a spotlight shined right on sourcing and procurement and supply chain writ large. And so our influence as a function has certainly grown. I think we've proved our value across the last few years, but there is a risk, right? We actually did some research a few years ago on procurement's influence as it relates to the business cycle. And what we find is that in economic, challenging times, our influence tends to increase because our inherent value proposition, or the preconceived notion of what our value proposition is very aligned to what the business needs in a downturn or in economic, troubling times. And so the risk is, can we sustain it? Can we turn, this inflated influence that we may have currently into something that is more sustainable?
If it's true that the influence that you have and the importance that you have, the contributions that you make to the company are even greater in times of economic disruption, there's another one coming at some point down the line.
Yeah.
Question to you then is, what is it that procurement leaders need to do to be prepared for that?
Yeah. So one of the things that we observe in prior disruptions, and we saw this recently across the last 2 years, we saw this during the global financial crisis, is that we're really as strong as our weakest link in the supply chain. One of the biggest investments that I would advise procurement leaders today to really kind of lean into in preparation for any upcoming economic disruption would be to increase your investment in supplier management. You need to have good relationships to succeed when times are bad. You're reliant on the key relationships that we have. It's been said that in the 20th century, companies competed against companies. In the 21st century, supply chains are competing against supply chains. And so we need to win together, and we need to take care of those organizations that we're reliant on.
Great advice for the procurement leaders and those in the C-suite to whom they are answering. Ryan, I appreciate so very much that you're meeting with us and speaking about this important topic. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's Ryan Polk, Gartner, speaking with us today about tackling the ever-evolving procurement picture. Thanks for watching.